Pokemon has now reached 7 generations and over 20 years in existence. And in those 20 years, it has given birth to literally hundreds of Pokemon, or 802 to be exact. Many of those 802 pocket monsters have had incredible designs, ranging from cute to scary to beautiful to downright intimidating and awe-inspiring. And many of them have come to be loved by millions of people, some even having their own fanbase covering specific Pokemon. But some didn't get quite as great of a following, be it due to having bad stats, a bad move pool, or being downright forgettable. Some of these Pokemon just simply never got the love that others did, by fans and Nintendo alike. Hell, an artist at Game Freak even forgot one of the Pokemon on this list existed, but after 802, I guess we'll let it slide just this once. So with Christmas around the corner and my wallet too empty to give these characters a real gift, let's give them the gift that they wanted from the very start. A little bit of recognition and love. This is my top 5 Pokemon who just need a little love. Slight disclaimer though before we start. All opinions in this video are just that, my own opinions. I do not speak for anyone besides myself, and I know many of my viewers will have differing opinions of their own. Though you do not need permission to tell me just how wrong I am in the comments, and I'm sure someone will, I encourage you to leave a comment and discuss what Pokemon you feel didn't get enough love. Coming in at number 5, we have a duo of Teddiursa and Ursaring, but mainly because they are evolutionary line. These Pokemon were first seen in the later months of 1999 when Pokemon Gold and Silver were released in Japan, or late 2000 for North America. While they were far from the most exciting new Pokemon to be released during this generation, they did have a good following of fans. From the girls who loved just how adorable Teddiursa was, with his teddy bear demeanor, to the tough guys who finally had a giant battle bear to crush their enemies with. But the grandeur around Ursaring's family was short-lived. Other Pokemon during that generation quickly replaced our lovable killer Yogi Bear, and a normal-type Pokemon made for bad company in a generation that seemed to favor fighting types. By the time 3rd generation came around, the competitive scene became all the rage, and further cemented Ursaring's demise. With a huge attack stat, our bear looked great on paper, but with almost no speed to back that up, he was simply outclassed by other wall breakers and lost to time. As new generations came and went, his bear only slipped further and further down the ladders, eventually finding itself in the PU tier, which is Smogon's lowest competitive tier. Some hoped with a Mega Evolution, Ursaring would get a comeback, but Pokemon like Audino and Magnetric seemed to get more priority in that department. Though a new evolution was never given, I do hope to see this Pokemon make a comeback in the future, as it's a great design and it's the original Battle Bear paving the way for greats like Beartic and Beware. With 4th place, we have a worm of underwhelming proportions. Welcome Dunsparce to the field. Yeah, I know, how many underwhelming Pokemon lists have had this Pokemon? But it's there for a really good reason. As with our last entry, this Pokemon was introduced with Gold and Silver, or the 2nd generation. Whereas Ursaring got a bit of love with this generation, however short-lived it was, Dunsparce never felt the love of any kind from its creators. In fact, it's almost like Game Freak or Nintendo tried to actually hide it from us altogether. Being a very rare Pokemon only found in one cave in Johto, many people heard rumors of Dunsparce's existence and thought they were looking for some mystical snake, only to find they wasted their time finding a mediocre worm that just wanted to be left alone in the dark. Pretty much the only thing that Dunsparce was good for in this generation was to fill up an extra Pokédex entry and finish collecting them all. But now, you must be asking, surely he can contribute to battles in some way, right? Can't be completely useless. Well, that's where we're wrong. With 100 base HP being its highest stat by a long shot, this Pokemon even has a hard time remaining viable at the lowest of tiers, being outclassed by nearly every other Pokemon. Sure, it does have a few nice attacks on its list that can make it a fun Pokemon to use, if it only had slightly better stats, but it's a moot point now. It's almost as if Game Freak created it, hated their creation, but didn't have time to fix it, so they made it pointless as possible to use it, make people forget it. But we haven't forgotten. In fact, Dunsparce has a light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. This weak and embarrassing Pokemon actually has a small following of fans that see it for its untapped potential and have always asked for a buff, be it a Mega form or a regular evolution altogether. While I don't plan on picketing Nintendo to see this Pokemon become a pseudo-legendary or anything, you can count me in on the list of people who would love to see this become something more than it ever's been. Usable. Now, our third place winner, or loser depending on how you see it, is a Pokemon with an initial huge fan base, rivaling that of even more popular Pokemon like Lucario and Blaziken at its peak. But sadly, its popularity steadily declined after the Pokemon was officially released, and people realized something horrible. It honestly was made competitively mediocre by Game Freak. For number 3, we have one of my personal favorite Pokemon, Zoroark, and by relation, Zorua as well. Now you may be asking, Zoroark, on a list of unloved Pokemon? Why would this mischievous 80s haired fox be on the list? Everybody loves that Pokemon. Well, they did, and truth be told, people got over it pretty quick. How quick? Well, by the time special Zorua were given out via mystery gift events, people already quit caring. The few Zorua events have been reported as some of the least popular Pokemon giveaways that Nintendo has done, which is pretty sad. They were so unpopular after the first time that instead of continuing them, Game Freak just made an in-game event in Black and White 2 that gave you a free Zorua. But I digress, let's move on. Zoroark was first available on Black and White version games, but she was first seen in the movie Zoroark, Master of Illusions, released in mid-2010, only months before Black and White versions even came out. As a competitive Pokemon, Zoroark can hold its own for a time, but its illusion gimmick is gone quick, and its niche as an offensive special attack Pokemon is outclassed by just too many others in its meta. It has a high attack, great special attack, good speed, and pretty much nothing else. No bulk, no special attacks that set it apart from the competition, nothing that makes it special enough to climb the ranks. And because of this, many people have moved on, almost never looking back. The fun of Zoroark's illusions was fun while they lasted, but as with its ability, it just didn't last long enough to make a big difference. I personally would love to see this fox get a boost sometime, whether it be in stats alone or a more unique moveset that could help set it apart from others. But if Pelipper and Torkoal have shown us anything, it's that sometimes you have to fall down to the bottom before you can get boosted back to relevancy. This next one is on the list mainly because when Alola was first announced and tropical Pokemon from past generations started getting buffs and new mentions, I thought it was a sure thing that this Pokemon would be on the shortlist back to the top. But from the announcements, to the leaks, to the full release, not only did he not get a buff, it got left out completely. Tropius is our number 2 today. And, like number 2, this Pokemon is known for being complete. But why, Nintendo? How could you do this to Tropius? We get a new region with a tropical setting, and you didn't add in the palm banana dinosaur with the word tropical practically in its name? Not to mention giving new Alolan forms to Gen 1 Pokemon only when Tropius has bananas growing from its body, and Hawaii, the real-life region in which Alola is based off of, is home to many unique variations of bananas not found in other regions of the world. And don't even get me started on the absence of Solrock and Lunatone in Sun and Moon. In fact, I will later do an entire video dedicated to Pokemon that should have been in Sun and Moon, but got shafted. So let me know down in the comments who you think should have made it in. Tropius was introduced into the series in Ruby and Sapphire as our 3rd generation of Pokemon. He is a dinosaur that is also found on the same routes in which you would hunt for Phoebus, and we all know how easy it is to catch that ugly little fish. While Tropius was not Phoebus or Dunsparce hard to find, it was pretty uncommon to stumble upon them, so digging was required. To reward you for your search though, you were given a Pokemon with a really cool typing, and nothing else special to go along with it. His Dino was cursed with a speed stat of 50, only 72 base special attack to work with, and its attack being even lower. It did have the ability to double speed in sunlight, but even that couldn't help leave its mark on the community. Finding some use and popularity in its own generation, albeit only slight popularity, Tropius quickly fell down the ranks with every new Pokemon to be released afterwards. I would love to see this dinosaur get at least a slight bit more speed, and a special attack to write home about, but the future sadly doesn't look bright for this poor fellow. Don't worry though, we still love you, Choppius. Even if Game Freak doesn't. And on to our final entry, we have what would seem to be the least loved Pokemon by Game Freak. And you guessed it, it's Pikachu. Our little weight loss success story only took 20 years to slim down to his current size, all under the extensive training regimen of his trainer Red, who offered such words of encouragement as... and... Now obviously, this was a joke. Everyone knows Pikachu is the only Pokemon Nintendo actually cares about. But with jokes aside, we have a neglected Pokemon to tend to. Keeping the Christmas cheer alive in the Pokemon world, our number one, that just needs a little love, is Delibird. Now this little guy has been one of my all-time favorite designs since the moment I found him, in Generation 2. Tucked away deep within a cave that nobody wanted to explore, in an area nobody wanted to be, with other monsters nobody wanted to catch. See where I'm going here? The only reason I found this Pokemon is because I was a big enough nerd that I pre-ordered Gold and Silver along with the official strategy guide for the games. And after nearly an hour of trying to get this little adorable Santa penguin, none of my friends knew what the hell it was. They all looked at my game like I found a secret legendary Pokemon never before seen by mankind. So in my excitement of having such a rare character, I instantly started training it to battle the next gym leader, which was perfect. An Ice-Bird to help me take down the Dragon Gym Leader Claire, how much better could it get, right? Wrong. So wrong. I didn't want to drop its unique attack Present, because we all know how rare it was for a Generation 2 Pokemon to have a unique attack. But the problem was that Present had a chance to do damage, or a chance to hit myself, or a chance to heal myself, or the chance to heal the enemy. So I'd give it other moves, only to find its stats were so low tier that he simply couldn't stand up against the dragons I raised him to slay. The bird I was so excited to have quickly found its new nest, deep inside my PC. And honestly, that's where it resided for many trainers. But ladies and gentlemen, as most Pokemon on this list were simply forgotten by Game Freak and Nintendo altogether, and thus got no further love, this is our first entry to get extra hate in a later generation. With Sun and Moon, our newest generation, they even sought to give poor old Santa Bird a nerf, cementing his uselessness in competitive play, as if they were scared someone would take offense to a Christmas-themed Pokemon, and wanted to make sure everyone forgot it even existed. And to that, I say no. I won't forget Delibird. We love Delibird no matter how terrible it is. And that's it, guys and girls, my top 5 Pokemon that need some love. If Nintendo isn't going to care for these poor creatures, let's just give the love ourselves. You may have noticed I left off some from Generation 6 and 7, but this is for good reason. With so many in both generations that got the short end of the stick by Nintendo, I wanted to later dedicate a separate list specifically to them, so make sure to check that out when it hits. Make sure to leave me a comment down in the comments section on whether or not you agreed with my list, as well as what Pokemon you feel need some more love. I can't wait to hear from you all. If you like this video and want to find more content like it, make sure to like and subscribe. And on that note, I'm going to have to take my leave. You all have a wonderful day and have some amazing holidays. Cheers, folks. Goodbye.